I don't want to rebound. I don't want to be in a situation where I make the same mistakes again. So you're here on the C Note Show to learn the tools, the strategies that you need to be the fucking hero of your own life and the man of her dreams, hopefully in version 2.0.
I'm gonna tell you about a woman whose heart is sunshine, whose body burned hot. I'm gonna tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares.
Welcome to the C Note Show, guys, brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains. It's 11:03 here, Tuesday, July 21st, 2020. Again, if you're not here live before the show, you're missing out because we've got jokes from around the world. I'm trying to share something on the screen here, and it's not working out. You know, we'll try some new things. We got set design today. Look at the amazing plants. We can keep things alive. Look at that. That's proof. Aside from my 16-year-old son, but he might disagree. I don't know. He looks at a full refrigerator and says we have no food. Does anybody else experience that? Well, it's pretty bare. Like, you can't fucking fit any more food in there.
My kids do the same thing, and it's crazy. It's
like, there's nothing I like.
Yeah, we like literally went to the store 12 hours earlier with him. You know, there's nothing I like. Yeah, aside from whatever. So welcome to the C Note Show. There's our opening antics for today. You are here because you want to know how to get more love, sex, and affection in your life, in your relationship. And like me, when I was in my past relationship in 2015, she said she didn't love me any longer. She said that everything was my fault. As I say in this show, she told me I was wearing the bad guy pirate costume in the Shakespearean tragedy of our lives. And I looked down and I'm not wearing a ruffly shirt. I don't understand. Why am I the bad guy? That was the situation in my past relationship. And you know, you want to know either how to reconcile with your wife, your separated wife, or you want to know how to move forward in your life. How do I differentiate version 1 with version 2.0 of potentially reconciling with her or the next relationship? You know, I don't want to rebound. I don't want to be in a situation where I make the same mistakes again. So you're here on the C Note Show to learn the tools, the strategies, the 3 forms of confidence, the behavioral, emotional, and spiritual confidence that you need to be the fucking hero of your own life and the man of her dreams, hopefully in version 2.0, right? That's why you're here. And I'm a professional coach, Mr. Jeff Allen, professional coach, Miss Cynthia Cruz. And Cynthia is the only woman allowed in the show. Thank you for joining us, Cynthia. I appreciate it.
Thank you so very much for having me here. It is a pleasure and an honor every day. And I appreciate those of you who I see almost every single day, if not every day. And I appreciate those who have popped on today that it's a gift to have you here. So thank you. And thank you as always for inviting me into this very, very profound space. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. We love to have you here for your eminent perspective and feedback and what it feels like in your body when a man is moving into challenge or moving into questioning. It's so amazing to bounce those things off you. Love it very much. So yeah, gentlemen who are here, Walters and Tim and Rob and Ruben, Andy, Patrick, of course, Kent, Joseph, Jason the Dragon, and Jason and Harry and Dave and Dan and Brett and Andy. You guys are phenomenal from all over the world. Love you guys so much. I think the last of our regulars, the last of our charter members have gotten their mugs that, you know, I like to, so Kent's company put these together. Here's our logo and this is the C Note Show, right? Yeah, Kent's got it right there. Yeah, and well, as I read the chat right now, I was talking about the pirate costume earlier, and Tim says he can't see my peg leg. Yeah, I'm hiding the peg leg. I fixed my captain hook, and I don't have the pirate on my shoulder. I don't understand why. I don't understand why I was the bad guy in my relationship. Well, I kind of do know why. We talk about that in the show too. So we always start with some humor. We start with a question from the forum, which we've got a great one, of course, again today. This humor that I found is some sketch comedy from 2 gentlemen named Jake and Amir. And it's kind of like from The Office. There's Jim and Dwight, how they have the office kind of like conflict and, you know, their little battles and things. That's what this Jake and Amir sketch is. And they have a ton of them. I found them last night. Man, I was digging in, laughing my ass off. So I'm going to share one of them today. We've got a couple of minutes from a TED Talk today about the expectation gap in our life, how we expect one thing and maybe perceive or have the reality of another, and more motivation today. It's going to be so good. You are here to get more hugs, kisses, love, sex, and affection in your life and in your relationship. You are a man starting to rise in this world, and you are here for renewal of daily belief, renewal of the tools to connect with other men in this tribe, that Spartan that's next to you. May you hold up your shield in the world, and you hope that man next to you is holding up that shield as well. And that's why we're here, right? Is to arm ourselves, so to speak, in the world of kicking ass, motivation, spirituality, and relationship. So here we do our daily work. It's a renewal of belief and thought. And I love this picture that Cynthia found this week. Our theme of this week is Chicks Dig Scars. So every morning, it's afternoon for some of you and very early morning for others tomorrow, and it's evening in Europe. So every day, every show this week, I want to ask a question. And yesterday we asked about courage. And today I want to ask you to give us a one-word response in the chat, or a short phrase or a sentence about this right now. Where am I taking responsibility for myself right now? Where in my life, maybe it's very small. Maybe it's, I'm taking responsibility to get up out of bed and go to work today. I'm taking responsibility to walk around the block or take my dog for a walk. Or I'm kicking ass. I take responsibility for being on the C-Note show and 10 minutes of reading one of the men's books today. So answer in the chat for us and for each other, for our tribe here, guys. Brag yourself up a little bit. Where am I taking responsibility for myself right now, small or big? So go ahead and post that in the chat. Let's do our opening question from the forum, and we'll get into our comedy. So this gentleman says, when texts that you can see have been read are completely ignored, what do you do? He says, I sent her a message to tell her that my brother, whom she has a positive relationship with, both him and his family, just tested positive with COVID. She gave me no response. Last week, I sent her an email about a car issue that needs addressing. No response. So without wanting to get all bitchy and childish about it, I thought I'd bring it here first. So I love that this man is bringing this to the men. So good, so good. We don't want to treat her like a therapist. We don't want to treat her like the wastebasket that we're vomiting into, right? We want to bring it to the men. So here's his context. Things have been icy between us for a while, but these are not emotional messages I'm sending. Are they? So if I pause right there, this man is asking us to confirm or to push back into him that, are there any expectations here? Are these emotional texts, or the texts, are these emotional texts in any way? Does it feel like he's wanting something from her? And that's what he's asking, I believe. These are not emotional messages I'm sending her, are they? I'm honestly not sending these things with a secret agenda, but the radio silence kind of does my head in at times. What am I missing? Please give it to me straight. So I'll ask your gentleman about this. If you've had an instance where maybe it's a co-parent, or she's separated but in the same house, or you're divorced, no matter where you are in that situation, or if there's not even, if there's not kids involved. I have a client of mine who's saying, he needs to go pick up some winter tires from his ex's garage, and it's July, and he's wondering if he texts her, if she's going to feel like there's any kind of hidden messages or covert contracts in there. It's like, dude, it's July. Do you have some other reason to be picking up this? No, I kind of miss her, and I want to reach out to her. Like, okay, that's valid, but don't pretend like it's for the tires then, right? And so I want to ask Cynthia about this, and let's also honor our chat. So our question of the day of this morning for you guys that are here live is, where am I taking responsibility right now? So Cynthia, if you could honor our chat, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I so appreciate the responses that came in. And Dan said, I'm taking time each day to get up earlier and have me time before the kids wake up. Makes a huge difference. Also, kingly plan, time to reflect and plan for the day. I love that. Tim said, owning my own emotions while not completely ignoring hers. Oh, it's amazing. Kent said, taking responsibility, not taking things personally. And Joseph said, self-care, meditation, diet, exercise, and sleep. And Jason the Dragon said to stay open and to use this day off to move into my own future when all I want to do is go back to bed. Yeah. And Dave said having a good, healthy diet and exercise daily. That's awesome. And Brett said Exercise daily. I take charge of my emotions and state. Make sure I do things that I enjoy, and writing and finishing my book. Oh, that's right. I forgot you were writing a book.
Nice.
Rob said exercise and self-care daily, meditate, and take ownership of my work. That's awesome. And Ruben said, I'm taking responsibility of my positive energy for the day. And Walter said, maintaining positive energy. That is very humbling, and I'm very honored and just impressed by the commitment and the energy of all that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, the me time, the getting yourself up out of bed and going doing something physical, that's phenomenal. That's so good. Yeah, I went for a walk with my kiddo and we did pull-ups. I put it's actually a hoe. It's actually a hoe, not a rake. She's a hoe. No, it's a hoe I hung in the tree back there. We'll share some like middle school humor while Cynthia sits here. I hung a hoe in the tree in between two branches over there. We're doing pull-ups back in that willow tree behind the trampoline in the yard this morning. So that was our exercise. Love you guys so much. So Cynthia, I want to ask you in a moment after our comedy about what is it like when a man reaches out, texts, and she doesn't respond? You know, what's going on there? What is she feeling in that instance in this poster? How maybe we come across with expectations or covert contracts when we're not wanting to, or we're not even aware of it. Definitely want to ask you about that on our show. And we have a man that's going to come on today. Walters is going to come share with us today. And Walters, we're going to do that after the comedy. So Walters is going to share his situation with us. Last that we heard from Walters, he was trying to come back, or she was inviting her, I believe, back into the main bedroom. And they had a discussion about that quite a while ago. And we haven't heard from Walters, in a while, buddy. So I look forward to that. But let's go ahead and share our comedy first, guys. This is from Jake and Amir. And this one's titled Copier. I'm going to share that right now. Here we go.
Hey, you're watching Jake and Amir.
Not me, my eyes are closed.
Perfect.
Ow!
Check it out.
Can you please just go back to your desk? I'm trying to work.
Oh, it's in me. Oh, God.
Oh, shards!
Shards?
Shards, where are shards?
I'll get help.
No, it's funny.
What?
It's a funny goof.
Dude, you're clearly in a lot of pain right now.
It's gonna be worth it when it starts copying my ass.
You're not gonna have an ass when this is all done. You just sliced it, buddy. You sliced it wide open.
Oh! It's burning my anus!
Get off it!
No! Hey! You'll ruin the joke.
Amir, your ass is burned.
Yeah, it's burned. It's burned bad.
It's cut.
Absolutely. Sliced from taint to sphincter. Gutted like a fish.
So climb up on out of that copier, huh, pal? Can't be worth it.
Is it funny?
Is what funny?
The copies. Am I the office clown as of yet, do you think?
Nothing's funny about this. It's self-mutilation, bud, and there are no copies.
Where's the paper?
You pressed fax! You're faxing a picture of your burned, bleeding asshole to my accountant.
Then have him scan and email it back.
It's a her and no.
Chicks can't do math, dude.
Don't be misogynistic. You're getting fucked by a copier.
It's a 5-in-1 workstation. And fine, I'll copy it. Here we go. Ready? What the butt is that? PC load letter?
The drawer is empty.
Will you insert paper to tray 2?
You should have looked before
Will you insert
No.
paper to tray 2?
I will not. I will not do that. I'm not going to help you.
Fine. I'll do it without you. Oh.
I'll do it. God, just stop.
This may kill me, sure, but like with any tortured artist, my work will live beyond me. I shall be remembered as a martyr, a cool, and a philosopher, for I have the anus of a god.
Perfect. Nobody even knows you did that, and you have to wear a diaper now.
Worth it, baby!
Oh, God, you need new stitches.
Yes.
He has the anus of a god. The anus. I also have an anus. No, I don't know. I have an anus, not an anus of a god. Maybe Jason has the anus of a dragon god. Oh man, good times. Okay, so after that, after that one, I want to let's segue back, and we're gonna come over to our highlighted gentleman of the day. But I want to get into the response. Cynthia just has no. Cynthia's like, I don't know what the fuck that video was, Jeff. But let's continue with our show today. Like, all right.
I was in physical pain. I'm just kind of recovering.
You just sat there. Let's move along. Move along with our show, Jeff. Yes. So I want to get into a response about this question from the forum. I just want to open it up and then go over to Cynthia here. So response was, I was in this space not long ago and kept trying to create communication. One of the coaches hit me squarely with, she's not your wife anymore. At least that's probably how she feels. And whatever negative emotion is driving her right now, anger or resentment or loneliness, take your pick, the last thing she feels like doing is communicating with you. So Cynthia, from a woman's point of view, right? And again, you guys know that we got together in our late 30s and we had relationships prior to being with each other. We've been together for about 4 years now. And Cynthia, so let's say in past relationships where a man reaches out and for some reason, and I'd love for you to explain to us, that it feels needy, it feels like he's wanting something from you, it feels like, an energy vampire situation, or he's not being honest. He's making some other excuse to either want to communicate with you or be around you, and you know that there's a covert contract there. What is that like for a woman, and how can a man be more aware if he's doing that even accidentally?
Well, I believe men have, you've probably experienced this on the other end too. Maybe, we're talking about middle school humor, but that quintessential like middle school girl who's like, how are you doing? What's going on? Why haven't you called me? Like, it's that kind of, I feel, it's almost like the space between is a little sticky. Like there's something being asked of me that I'm not wanting to give, or it feels like a lot of work to respond, or I'm supposed to respond a certain way. And I have in past situations not responded back to a gentleman who, we were in a relationship, and then he would, when we broke up, he would text me, and it was asking almost for like a continued connection. And it was something that I wanted to be in, like a friendship, a kindness, a humanness with him, but it felt like he was wanting something more from that. And that was very, very stressful to experience.
So to add to that, what if he is perceiving it as just a logical text, or it's just a pragmatic life thing that we need to take care of? Why would it be that a woman would not respond to that? So the opening poster, why would it be that his separated wife would not respond at all?
It could be like a couple of things. Sometimes when a woman is going into experiencing a bigger emotional response to someone, whether she's pushing away or it's frustrating or brings up pain, to be having to move into a logical place to get something done, to respond to a logical request, it can feel dismissive, or like one more thing on the plate that she has to deal with. And it can feel kind of incongruent to the space that she's truly in and the world that she's working in.
So incongruent to how she's feeling, the space that she's in. Say more about that. How do you mean?
It's kind of like, like incongruent to the space. It's like if her world is more the emotional world and she's thinking about the things that came before in your relationship or current experiences she's having, to have to go into a logical place feels as if you're being asked to step out of that world and be something for someone else, be something for him in that moment. And if she's angry in that space, she's not going to want to be that for him.
Okay, so that just hit me really hard, to be something for him, almost regardless of what that something is. She has that feeling that maybe he's wanting her to be something for him.
Yes.
She's not even wanting to be in that realm at all.
Yes. I would say even in like relationship dynamics where things are moving and the couple is connecting, if a woman is in more of a emotional swirl, or the logical ask, it feels to her like she has to be something else. She has to perform or do a duty that's outside of herself.
At least her perceptions in the moments.
Yeah. And then she responds in kind, and the poor gentleman on the other side's like, this was just a logical ask, and this is supposed to move us forward in our life together or us forward in our separation together.
Yeah, thank you. That's huge. I have more to add on to that later. I have some other thoughts from my side, what I see when I coach men, things like this. And his question also is there a covert contract there I'm not aware of? And I mean, I think the answer is probably, right? So we'll talk about that more ongoing. But yeah, so Walters, I'd love for you to jump in. Thank you for, Cynthia lined up Walters to come on and talk with us today, and we're honored to have you on, of course, bud. So can you unmute yourself and come on? Hey, yeah, good to see you, please. So
yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, catch us up with where you are. And, I honored that your positive energy today, you posted in the chat, maintaining positive energy, that you're taking responsibility for yourself there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it's been a while. I think I've kind of just really been building on your tool. I can't quite remember how you call it, the 3 steps.
Yeah, the Morning Kingly Plan, the first 3 steps.
The first 3 steps, yes. So I've kind of, I think for the last couple of months, I ceased. From the very moment I realized what was going on, I ceased. And I understood all the shitty things, the shitty behaviors that I was exhibiting. I kind of basically stopped doing most of those things. And in the last couple of months, I've really just been focused on growing myself and becoming calmer and taking more responsibility for how I show up, not taking things personally. And and that has really been transformative for me. It's changing our relationship quite significantly, despite the fact that we still live in separate rooms at the moment. Because when we had the review, if you can remember, she said she wasn't quite ready. That because it was a review anyway. She had asked for 6 months, and I was where I was at the time, saying, okay, let's talk about it again in 3 months and see if things have changed. So
I see.
I was kind of
yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay, if you asked for 6 months anyway, so let's keep going. So and I just carried on. I didn't take it personally when she said she's not ready. I just carried on being who I was. I just carried on trying to show up like the man that I thought I was being without really knowing, and just trying to be positive and happy, and making sure that happy energy stays around the home, exhibiting that with my kids and exhibiting it with her if she wants it. And sometimes she would not be interested in it. It doesn't really bother me. And sometimes she would respond with a cheeky smile. She would be responding with a smile, but still trying to maintain her physical distance. And sometimes with the kids, we would engage in some sort of play with her, because the kids know that she's distant physically. So the kids would engage with me, and we would engage with her in some kind of play to get her. And that is working in a way, because it's getting her to want to be part of what we are doing.
Yeah.
And so that's just how I've been carrying on. And we're still in separate rooms. I have tried to initiate intimacy because of how things have been going with us, initiating foreplay and just carrying on. And we got to a point where, it almost happened, and then she shut down again. And when she shut down, And just thinking of how I would have reacted to that in the past, I was different.
Yeah.
And my question to her was, I want to understand what is happening. I want to understand what has happened with her just now that she has shut down.
Yeah.
And she said she doesn't know. And that she said to me several times that something isn't quite working inside her. And then I said, fine, I would appreciate it when you do have a clearer idea to let me know. And then when I woke up to leave, she asked me a very, very, very interesting question that if she gave herself to me, if she offered me sex, would I accept it? And my response without even thinking was, I wouldn't. If you were giving it to me to please me. So I would only take it if you, I don't know if I'm making sense here. I'm trying to find the word.
You are.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd love for her want to precede her giving you sex. Right?
Exactly. And not just engage with it because she feels like I have a need that she needs to satisfy. And I said, yeah, previously, before I started this work, my response would have been, oh yes, I would take it and move on.
Right.
But that is not where I am at the moment. Right now, I want to understand what is going on with you and what is happening. And I left the conversation there and I went to bed. The next day, I think she tried to explain to me what was happening. No, I actually started by asking her because I thought about it very carefully because I wanted to go deeper and try to understand what was happening with her.
Yeah.
And that was when she really opened up to me. She really opened up to me because our first child has got some challenges. She's got learning difficulties.
Sure.
She's got a neurological condition. So her problems basically started from that moment. And she said in the past, but in the previous mode that I wasn't really listening because the way I dealt with problems, I sort of thought that is how anybody would deal with things. You know, you take it and you deal with it and you move on. That is the way life is. That is how I've always perceived life. But it's really had a huge impact on her. And that is really, she was able to open up to me and tell me that was the moment. That was the moment when she felt like a part of her really shut down because she blames herself. Sometimes she blames herself. Sometimes she doesn't blame herself. And that has stayed with her. And she doesn't know how she can overcome that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know. I'll just a minute and then I'll round up and give you some time to maybe chip in. So that really left me feeling really, really, really touched because we've had those conversations, but I've never really felt like I understood where she was coming from because I took things so personally. But that meant that I felt like I was in a much more better place to support her without necessarily wanting anything back from her.
Yeah, yeah.
And that has been where I have derived my positive energy from. I've just carried on being positive and supporting her while giving her the space and encouraging her whenever she can to do whatever she needs to unblock herself, whatever it is inside her that is unblocking her. But while I'm waiting for her to do that, I'm just carrying on being the best version of myself by being positive, being playful with her in when she doesn't want it, being playful with her. And she is responding because she is smiling more. She is smiling more and she is, even when she doesn't really want to engage in the play, she lets me sometimes. And following those conversations, we got to a point where I think at one point I actually told her without any fear how it felt like when I have her in my arms.
Wow.
How it felt like when she gives me a hug, how it felt like. I told her out of nowhere. And she just sat there, she said nothing. I was just listening and smiling about it. And since then, we've just been hugging ourselves every day.
We've been hugging each other every day as well now?
Yeah, we give each other a hug before we go to bed.
Oh,
wow.
Pretty much. That's where we are.
Can I ask, what did you say, or generally what did you say when you told her how it felt for you when you connect?
It was really interesting. And I think that was a moment of revelation for me because we were sitting there watching TV. she was, because she likes to sit on her side, on her own corner. And I just like looking at her in front of me and appreciating her as she was sitting there and saying it out and telling her that, it's remarkable that despite having been married to her all these years, the feeling that I get when we are close, the feeling that I get when we are close up and I'm touching her, she hugs me, we hug each other, it's remarkable. It's like no other feeling that I get. I get the same feeling all the time. And she was just sitting there. She said nothing. She was just smiling.
Yeah,
She was just smiling. And from there on, after that, when we finished and she wanted to go to bed, I said, okay, can I give you a hug? Previously, she would resist. She would just walk away and go. And she gave the hug and has been doing that much more willingly, sometimes even standing up and expecting it.
Wow.
Yeah, even though she wouldn't say it, but she would stand up and she would say, okay, I'm heading to bed now. And she would kind of expect me to make it. And I do that.
Yeah, incredible. Oh my gosh. So let's jump in. You can't see Cynthia the whole time, but she's like smiling and swooning over here about how good that you're doing.
I could see her.
Good,
how Cynthia was responding.
Good, yeah.
If I could just add one last thing, Jeff. Because another area where I took responsibility was because we've been married now. As a matter of fact, last week was our anniversary, and we've been married 9 years, and I've never done anything. The day in the 9 years that we've been together, the day would just come and pass, and I wouldn't even say nothing because I was just so preoccupied with everything that was going on in our lives and everything. And in the run-up, I think in the last month, what I did was I looked for a picture. I had one of the pictures from our wedding day. And without saying anything to her, and I went out and I framed it. And I came and added it to the picture collections in the house. So when I brought it back, she didn't say nothing. I left it on the table. The next day, my young daughter, who is 5, says she loves the picture. She wants that picture in their bedroom.
Oh my God.
So, because she's been going on about us getting married again, which is crazy because she wants us to be married again. She wants us to be kissing and stuff like that, which is remarkable. So she wanted that picture. So then she asked me what prompted me to go get the picture, to go frame that picture. And I said to her, look, thinking about it, that was a very happy moment in my life. And that picture reminded me of that. And I wanted it to be up there as a reminder of how happy our lives were back then, despite the fact that we had nothing back then. Yeah. And so I did that. And then last week, again, I did, even though she resisted, I took her out for, thank God the restaurants were open, I took her out for dinner. She resisted and resisted and resisted. And even up to like 30 minutes, and I just kept going and I wasn't upset about it. In the past, I would have just given up at the first... As the first obstacle, right. But I just carried on, and I went, and even up to the last hour, I just reminded her I was going to have a shower, and then she said, "I've told you I'm not going anywhere," and I just carried on. I went, had my shower, I was dressing up. She came like 30 minutes. Okay, what time did I have? I was now asking me what time did I book. I said 8 o'clock. I said fine. Okay, but be ready that I'm not going to be in a good mood. I said, that is fine. I'm just happy you're coming.
Oh my goodness. So cool. Yeah. So fantastic. And it's not about outcome, but I think we're all curious to hear how it went when you took her out. How'd it go?
No, I mean, she was kind of in a mood, and it was only afterwards. It wasn't because of that. She was kind of in a mood. It wasn't because, I think she wasn't quite feeling well. It was only afterwards that she said that. And she didn't even say it to me. When she was talking to someone, she said she has not been feeling well. But when I asked her what was up, she didn't tell me anything. But she was kind of in a mood, but she wasn't upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but she was happy. She was all right.
Good. Yeah, so let's jump in. I mean, at the very last thing there, I'd love for Cynthia to get feedback on everything. So phenomenal things. We're going to get into that. And from her point of view, and it sounds like you weren't attached to how she did during the dinner or not. It was just, she's probably confused by this new man that you are. We see that a lot of, she doesn't know really what's coming. So the in a mood is almost sometimes just really curious and a little standoffish and not certain what's going to happen here. But yeah, Cynthia, I'd love for you to So please, Walter, some affirmation and some feedback and honor where he is right now. Yeah.
Well, I love the energy, Walters, you have when you say, it just didn't bother me. And I think it's the combination of your incredible energy and then your incredible accent, which just makes it so charming. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. And I just feel so much momentum and flow and breath and air in what you describe and the space between you and your wife. And I am thrilled just that you maintain your frame and your vision of something like going out to dinner and just keep going and darn, she didn't say, okay, what time? I just think that's fabulous. And it's such a testimonial to the power of your masculinity, you, Walters, the power of the men that are surrounding you. And thank you for modeling and showing what that can do.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cynthia. I mean, it's been thanks to listening to all of you guys. And just one last thing, if I can add, and in all of these things, although I can sound positive, the one thing that I have completely detached myself from is whether or not it's going to make the relationship work down the line. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm not even thinking about whether or not she would want to be with me or not.
Yeah.
I'm just focused on doing what I think I should have been doing, because and it's really, and I feel free and I feel happy about it, because I'm being the person that I thought I was being without even knowing what I was doing back then.
Yeah, back when you first met her, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, so a couple things. I want to ask you one question here in a moment, but a couple of things. Being detached from whether she wants you or where the relationship is going is a great necessity of this work. I call it the delineation between version 1 and the potential of version 2.0. There has to be a delineation where you're not concerned about reconciling in that space. And I know that's hard. It's, quote, hard. And I want to ask you how you've done that. Have you meditated? How do you have this new perspective? How do you keep your emotions in check? How do you sort of not care about the relationship in this moment?
Honestly, Jeff, I don't know how I've done that, because it's hard. It's hard because even when things were really tough and I was all over the place, not knowing what was going on, I often felt one of the things, or one of my survivor moods was like, I just want this to stop one way or the other.
Sure.
Yeah, so, but then I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I was saying that because maybe I knew that it wouldn't really end as such. But how I have transformed myself into the place where I am, that I'm not really so bothered about what happens to the relationship, I don't know.
Well,
I think it's just I haven't meditated. I don't meditate. I would love to, but I haven't meditated. But I don't know how that is. It's just been something that inside me that has really gotten me there. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, one thing is definitely this tribe of men, the modeling that, we do as coaches, the other coaches do, Andy Malloy and Jason Bradbury do, of course, and all the other guys that are going through this work. That's why we're here for each other. Like, that's what we talk about, being the Spartan shoulder to shoulder with the other man.
Yeah.
And I want to share this kingly plan. And you said that you're doing the first 3 steps here. What do you appreciate every day? One thing, you read something inspirational, and then you ask yourself, what do I know to be true? So doing that, right? And I wouldn't have brought this up had you not mentioned it, but doing those things, having appreciation. I shared my appreciation journal yesterday. I do one every single morning. It takes me maybe 1 minute to do that, and then read 1 page of something and ask myself, what do I know to be true about that reading? Or what do I know to be true about today within my life? And it's a check on where my emotions are right in this moment. Okay. So when you do that morning ritual, the kingly plan, I don't know if you do it on the toilet or not like I do, but how does that help you? I mean, and I'm not fishing here, just be honest with us. So how does that help you, or what has that been doing for you, or anything? Does that help you?
Absolutely. I think one of the things I have also learned from doing all of that is learn what it means to love someone unconditionally. And I think I found a way to tell my wife that, because I wasn't always loving. I wasn't always loving. I thought I loved her, but I wasn't. I was loving her with conditions, because I wanted her to transform into the person that I sort of imagined that it would be. And I think letting go of that expectation, letting go of all of that, of turning her into the perfect, ideal, whatever I was thinking about, has been down to doing all of those things, holding her in high regard, having appreciation for what she's been to us, because she has been, even without probably knowing what she's doing, she has actually got me to where I am today. And that is how sometimes I see it, because even though she may not know what she has done.
Well, that's okay. So I love that your perspective on allowing her to inspire you in that way, allowing her to affect you in that way, whether you specifically say that to her or not. I mean, this is your work right now, and how you phrase that to her, which you did. You watched her while she was on the couch, and you said, wow, she still affects me. You still affect me like you did when we first got together. That's amazing. And those words of affirmation, Walters, are fantastic. And we've said on the show, and Cynthia has reminded us, that a woman wants to know that she impacts you in a way where you're able to be a better man in the world. Can you share, some more about that? What does a woman want to know in the energy of us? We don't just want to necessarily say it verbally. Maybe there's a place for that in the right way. But the energy that Walters is saying, he's allowing her to affect him in that way in the world. Tell us more about that.
Sure. I feel that women are very strongly connected to, they have their own purpose here. And one of their purposes is to really to celebrate femininity. And they do that in all kinds of ways in our world, like what they choose to dress in, and how they do their hair, and if they wear earrings or not. And it's an appreciation of lightness and beauty. And even if it's like in more of like a mom mode with her child, for her to know that who she is as a woman, lightens and lifts and brings beauty to her child, that is like the most incredible feeling. And I say, like, as a woman, to know that who I am, and the places where I'm soft and emotional, and where I want to play with light and appreciate beauty, if that, for the man in my life, if that makes his day brighter, better, gives him energy for his purpose and mission, it's like my whole heart opens, and it's a very empowered feeling, not a power over, but just like who I am and how I was put together matters and makes a difference in this other person's life. It brings energy, and it feels on purpose. So.
Yeah, that you impact him. It reminds me of the 8 pieces of the Women's Relationship Pie, about how who you are and what you be about matters in the world and impacts him.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, fantastic. Hey, Walters, thank you so much. I'd love for you to come on our show, of course, again in the future, and let us know. There's always the question of, well, what about time frame? If things aren't progressing, there's the time frame question. That's a different question, which we've talked about, and I'm happy to talk about again in the future, right? But right now, you're not worried about that. As you said, you're in this chapter of life where you're focusing on yourself, being the best man for yourself, and honoring her and honoring the relationship in these ways that you've learned, and you're leaning into that. I love that so much.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. And the one last thing before, it's the other thing which I've also made very clear. Yes, I know we spoke about the 6 months, which kind of gives me a sense of perspective. But at the same time, the work that I'm doing to myself is gradually getting me to a point where I'm not really so bothered about that, because she has been able to tell me what her fears have been about our relationship, which she's never said, even though she would try to mask it. And one of which was primarily the kids, but also us. She had fear about us, how we would manage without each other. And that was quite significant to me when we had the conversation. But the other thing which I've kind of forgotten now. So
well, let me ask you a question about that. Right?
Yeah.
So she's only recently opened up to you, it sounds like. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when she said that to you, what was your experience as a man? How did you react, respond? How did you take it? What were you feeling?
It was part of the conversation that led her to open up to me about her struggle as well, because it was really down to how I started the conversation, because I started the conversation by asking her if she had any fears at all.
Yeah.
Not about what anyone else would think, but if she had any fears about our relationship. And I think she did not quite understand where I was going with the conversation, but it ended up really revealing quite a lot. And the first fear was, of course, the kids. And then the second fear was, I'm like, okay, was there anything else? And she mentioned us, that she was, and I said, how much does that affect you? How much does that impact on you? And on a scale of 1 to 10, the kids was like 9. She was that scared. And for us, and how we would manage on our own without each other. Because despite the intimacy, we get on quite well. We do a lot of stuff very well together. And she recognizes that. She said 7 on 10, which is very good based on the circumstances. So, and that is what gradually led us on to those sort of, say, how then do you think we can deal with these fears that you have? But the other thing which it also revealed to me was how she was struggling with herself. As we have been struggling in the relationship, she's been also struggling with herself, because she is quite successful in her job, but she struggles to understand why in her marriage, in our relationship, she struggles with all of these things. And those were questions that were going on in her head as well.
Yeah.
So those are things which suggested to me that she was thinking about it, that she was indeed reflecting about everything that was going on.
Yeah, so often it's a woman has a soup of emotions going on, a soup of considerations and fears and concerns going on. I think that's not refuted anywhere. We're definitely not refuting that. Cynthia's not refuting that. But for us to know that as a man, just to be aware, to not try to fix that about her, to not try to force her to pull those things apart if she's not wanting to do that in this moment. Maybe she's not ready to talk about the things separately, or maybe she is. We don't know. But it's not just any one thing. We as men try to compartmentalize. It's like, oh, is it this one thing? I can fix this one communication problem or this one thing about physicality. There's so many other factors involved, right? Including her own judgment of her success in life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I just realized I probably didn't quite answer. Okay, so how was my frame when she said all of that?
Yeah.
I was quite calm and just said, thank you for letting me know. Thank you for telling me that, because it helps me, because I think for me, understanding is really important, because it's only through understanding that I'm not quite sure how I put it, but it's only through that, having that understanding of what is actually going on inside you. I know that it's sometimes to you, it's not often very clear what is going on. But it's having that understanding for me is very important. And so I thanked her basically for being able to tell me that.
Yeah, so good. Walters, I'm going to press pause. I love seeing you grow into this new chapter of a man that you are, man. It's like you're growing up with us right before our eyes. Like, whether we did this when we're 20 or 65 years old, all of us need to grow into this man, this modern man, this wise, grounded, mojo-filled, confident man with these skills. And we see that happening. And I'd love for you to honor some of the chat. We men here that have known you, Walters, are seeing that happen as time goes on. It's so fantastic. Yeah, please, Cynthia.
So I'm scrolling up because there was a lot here. Just, Walters, I want you to know how much the men here were really appreciating not only you sharing your story, but then they're commenting on your incredible energy and how they see that shift in you. Randy said, hey, great job, Walters. Andy said, Walters, I'm so touched by your story. This is wonderful affirmation that this works and that this is just beautiful. And Joseph said, thank you. Jason said, awesome work. So thank you so much for being here and sharing.
Yeah, another man that, like, we're scrolling. How many guys are giving you support, Walters, and so much good stuff. Phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh, and Jason said, oh, that gives me chills. Yes, not wanting to change her, not judging her, opening up the ability to really love her.
Yeah, so good. Thanks, Walters. Fantastic. I want to jump back over to the rest of the response from our opening poster. So to remind you, our opening poster had texted. She ignored the text, two different texts. And our response is a man that he said he was in this space not long ago. And I wanted to finish up the last paragraph or so of his response to that opening poster. He said, once you accept that, you know, it's possible that your separated spouse is, quote, abducted by aliens. She's not the woman that you thought that she was. She's coming into a different phase in her life, and maybe she wants individuality. Maybe she wants to do this on her own. Maybe she feels like she didn't live her life in the way that she wanted, which logically arguing about that with her is definitely not the way to go. You guys know that, but if this is your first time watching the show, trying to argue or logic your way through an emotional situation never works. Right. So the very first thing, like Walters was just modeling, is we want to honor her emotional experience, honor her truth, regardless of whether that's logical or your objective truth. It's her emotional truth, and that's what she experiences.
Yeah. And for a man to honor her emotional experience makes her feel like she's being heard, that she's understood, that what she says matters, that it's not just it's not just being disregarded. And I know nothing about that as like wanting to disregard what she says, but to her, the emotion is the most important thing that she's sharing. And we talked a little while ago about her like sharing who she is with you. That emotional experience is her coming forth and sharing with you, even if it's the stormy version or the fiery version.
So like you say, she's opening her bottom drawer to you, regardless of if it's positive or not, of how she perceives it, if it's good, bad, ugly, or any of those things. And so we, as men, should recognize that her just sharing those bottom drawer emotions with us is a huge thing. It is a step forward.
Yes, it is very different than the door shut and, you know, that painful place of like, well, you know, that person, he doesn't listen to me, so I'm just not going to share anything.
Right. So I'm looking at our time. I definitely could finish this poster. The response, he's saying like fighting with her never was a good idea. There was other energies involved too that he wasn't aware of. There's other energies in her life that are affecting her, like we talked about. And so I want to take the last minute or two here to point out that we're explaining a woman's reality and her emotional experience and how important that is. Okay. And the way that we are acting as a man within the relationship is very different than that. So Cynthia, you'd agree that what we're learning about modern relationship, it's not we are the same, egalitarian, we should treat each other exactly the same. We're no different except for our plumbing. That's not really the case. That's not really the case, because we as men, we're talking about, for instance, being centered within ourselves, not dumping our emotions, right? Taking it to the men, bounding into vulnerability, but having a plan, okay? And a perspective and a plan of how to move forward from that. We're not asking our woman to do that. We're not asking the feminine to have a plan, because that would be pushing her into a masculine frame. And that's not what we want. That's not going to connect us. That's not going to be sexually polar. It's not going to increase polarity. So that's one thing. I mean, we're going to have to cliffhanger that for today, which is what we're drawing out of her is not what we are trying to emulate as a leader in our own masculine world, in our own masculine life. Okay. And I have clients that, and I believe there's one on here today, especially, that has said like, well, and I have multiple guys like this, and I was like this at the end of 2015, where we think that's not fair though. That's not fair. What, she can be emotional and we should care about her emotional experience, and I have to do all this work and be aware and not dump my vulnerability on her without perspective and a plan. I can't just have this unbridled emotion like she apparently can, right? With there's a caveat there. We want to uphold boundaries within our relationship. Okay. And that's a whole other show, of course, which you guys know, boundaries. But yeah, it's not fair. It's not supposed to be the same. Like this, let's say, propaganda that it's supposed to be exactly the same is what kills sexual polarity and brings us to a place of being roommates and more arguing and us being confused, us treating her like, a hairless man, and her treating us like a hairy woman. Like we're expecting that she's a man and she's expecting us to be a woman when we say we're the same. We don't act the same. We don't act the same. I'd love for you to give a few seconds on that, Cynthia. We're going to have to cliffhanger that for today it seems like we're teaching something that's unfair in relationship. And what's the definition of fair? But in your point of view, right, as you've learned this work, you took men's study in college. You and I have been professionals for a long time in mental health, over a decade. We've been coaching men for 4 years in private practice. So if I said, well, that's not fair, though, what would you say about that?
That's a tough question, because I am, in my own person, very much value growth and showing up and doing my work. In terms of it being fair, I can say this to you as a woman, that when you are not in the energy of this isn't fair, but this is me as a man doing my work, and this is the energy of relationship I want to be in, and I'm holding that out there, and this is my anchor, this is my spear into the world, and this is what I stand for. You are incredible and amazing and like the redwood tree, and I'm in awe of that every day. So I do believe there are things that women are, constantly practicing in themselves, whether or not they're aware of it or not. We each have our own road. I know what it's like inside of me, but I deeply know what it's like to be on the outside watching you in that place. And it is, nothing is more gracious or generous. It is truly, to me, like that sacred masculine energy.
Oh, I love that. So there's a difference between truth and integrity in the world and in our community. And then there's a difference between, well, how do we foster relationship and long-term monogamous modern relationship? Those are different topics, right? And to your point, if the man is complaining about fairness, he's not being the leader in his own life. That's not attractive, right, to a woman. And so we can learn these three forms of confidence. There's a lot of paradoxical energy in the world, in which case, if we, and Mark is saying as leaders in the world and are masculine, and women have a masculine in the world too, okay? So when she's out in the world achieving, or when we're out in the world achieving as provider and protector, we don't want to justify inaction or wrong action because of our emotions. I'm pissed off today. I don't feel like it. Those things don't matter in the world of providing and protecting. Okay, but within relationship, when there's an enhancer and there's a supporter and there's a leader, okay, those are different energies. Supporter, enhancer, and leader, as Alison Armstrong talks about, that's a completely different magnetic dynamic and romantic relationship than the two of us, let's say, out in the world. Right? Does that ring true to you, Cynthia?
Yes, I think that dynamic is like you can kind of dance between two people in that way. But I even know as a woman that if I'm trying to be like the hunter and the provider and the protector, and like I've got my own vision in the world, and I know that person's over here, it's like riding two horses, but you're so far away that I as a woman end up living my life by myself. And that to me is not, I think the feminine energy has her own purpose, but it's not to live in a world of isolated on her own. She's just going to keep hunting. She can do that, but it's not going to be the bottom drawer desire of hers. Hers is to connect and be in polarity.
Well, I love that. We as men can live on our own in the world and not learn how to be in a relationship, and we can go join MGTOW and, write women off altogether. We each have those choices. It's, let's say, harder. It takes more effort. It takes more skill, more perseverance and patience, like we see from Walters, to be in phenomenal long-term relationship, especially if we're fucking up in the past, right, guys? Right? So that's why we're here. That's why you're here every day. We love you guys so much. This is where we do our daily work, renewal of belief. You believe in what we believe. We love women. We love relationship, and that's why you're here. And Cynthia, if you could honor our men today, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Walters, thank you so much for sharing and being here, and for the men who commented on your story. And I loved what Andy said, talking about men doing the work and is it fair? He said, and hey, the rewards for doing it is great sex plus a million other bonuses. So that is
it's a good reward.
My desire for you. That is the reward on the other side.
Yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Again, Walters and Tim and Rob, Randy, Patrick, Kent, Joseph, Jason the Dragon, and Jason, Ian, Harry, Dave, Brett, and Andy. And I know Ruben had to jump off, and a couple other men were here as well. Love you guys so much. This has been the C-Note Show, brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains and greatmenmovemountains.com. If you want to contact us directly and ask me about one-on-one coaching, how do I move forward as fast as I can? How do I tackle my particular hang-ups, my particular situation? I want to fucking dive in, Jeff. Go to greatmenmovemountains.com/contact. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to be a part of our daily show, our live show call-in over Zoom, go to greatmenmovemountains.com/C-Note. And it's the same Zoom link every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
Whose heart is sunshine, whose body burn hot. I'ma tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares and it's lovely.